Welcome to Lingua Latina Tutorials with Mr. K. This video is the first in a series intended to help explain the grammar and syntax you're learning by the natural method as you read through Lingua Latina per se Illustrata. The natural method is the best way to gain a deep and lasting knowledge of the Latin language, but for many learners it doesn't satisfy their desire to know the inner workings of the language, to know the reason why behind the language forms they're seeing and producing throughout the course. To satisfy this need, Focus Publishing offers a companion to the Lingua Latina series called the Latine Disco, I Am Learning Latin. At the end of each Lingua Latina chapter, after completing the Grammatica Latina, I encourage my students to carefully read and study the accompanying chapter of the Latine Disco. This video that you're watching now, and the ones that follow, with the accompanying Pensvm that you can download from the Moodle site or from the blog or from the christianlanguage.com site, this video is meant to support the Latine Disco text and offer textual explanations of the major points of grammar and syntax in each chapter. Ideally, the learner should watch this video and complete the accompanying Pensvm D, or Pensvm D, after reading the entire chapter and completing all of the exercises. However, every learner is different, and some may find that they prefer the grammatical explanations before or during the reading. And although that's not what the natural method purists would recommend, as Cicero says, suum cuique. Therefore, watch the videos in this series when you feel they are most opportune for you. So here we are in the Lingua Latina text, Capitulum Primum, and I'm going to go through the entire chapter pointing out the major grammar features. First, you see in line 1, two different forms of Italia. Italia with a long A, and Italia with a short A on the end. The difference between these two forms, you notice, is triggered by the in with Italia. In Italia triggers the long A form, and Italia by itself is without it. Later you're going to learn that Italia with a long A is a case called the ablative case, which is triggered by prepositions like in. Italia, the nominative case with a short A, is the subject case. So what you just need to know now, though, is that when you see in front of a noun or noun-adjective combination, that it is going to trigger a long A, or later you'll see O on the end. Okay, also in the first sentence, Roma in Italia est, you see the form of est. And this is the part of speech, parts of speech that are not clearly articulated in the Grammatica. This is a verb. It's a linking verb, and you're going to see two different forms of est in this chapter, est and sunt. What is the difference between est and sunt? Est is singular, and sunt is plural. So Roma est, Rome is, and Italia et Graecia sunt, Italy and Greece are. Now let's move down to line 5. In line 5, we see the word non. Non is a word that shows negation. It is the word no or not. It means both of those. They don't have a separate. The Romans do not have a separate word for no and not. So Egypt is not in Europe. And if we wanted to say, just answer a question, no, we would use the same form, non. The next grammar point I want to show you is in line 11. And that is this, what is called an enclitic. Est ne. This is the same word est that you saw earlier, or you can see in the sentence just above here, Britannia quoque in Europa est, but it has this little tag on, this enclitic, ne. Ne doesn't mean anything on its own. What it is a Roman question mark, and they put their question mark at the beginning of a sentence to let you know that it was a question by adding this ne to the verb. So do not try to translate that as a different word. It simply is Gallia in Europe, is France in Europe. The next grammar point is in line 19. So let's go to 19, and we see here Nilus et terrenus fluvii sunt, and in the margin we have Nilus fluvius est. Fluvius is a noun. You'll see that it has different forms, fluvius and fluvii. Just like in English, the Romans distinguished between their singular and plural. We say river and rivers, we add an S. The Romans had fluvius and fluvii. So fluvius, the singular of river, fluvii, the plural. The next grammar point I want to show you is in line 24. The word magnus. Magnus is an adjective. It modifies fluvius in this sentence, and you'll notice as we move through the Lingua Latina chapter that magnus is going to change its ending. And so magnus meaning big, great, large, the big river. If it's a river that's big, fluvius magnus, you'll see magnus fluvius. If it were an island, you would see magna insula. So the ending of the adjective is going to match the noun. You'll learn later that it's not really the ending that's matching, but really it's the gender, and the case, and the number that is actually matching. So sometimes the actual ending won't match, but for now, just know that your adjectives are matching their nouns in some way, and right now it's by ending. The next grammar point I want to show you is also here in lines 24 and 25, fluvius and fluvii. Magnus and magni. Magnus and magni. Magnus, the singular form of the adjective, and magni, the plural. So adjectives, just like their nouns, will have number, what's called grammatical number, singular and plural. The next grammar point I want to show you is in line 27. Insula. Insula is a noun like fluvius, but notice that the ending is different. We have a short A on the end, insula, instead of fluvius. Fluvius is a masculine noun, and insula is feminine. Nouns in Latin have grammatical gender. Islands are not women, and the rivers are not men, but grammatically, river is masculine and island is feminine. That's important because the adjectives that go with them, like I said earlier, match that gender. And so you need to know the genders of your nouns. The next grammar point I want to show you is in 27 and 28. And that is, we have insula and insulae. Just as we had fluvius and fluvii, the singular and the plural noun, here we have insula and insulae, the singular and the plural feminine noun, insula. So the difference between insula and insulae is the difference between island and islands. The next grammar point I want to show you is in line 31. And so here we have magna and parva in one sentence, and in the next sentence we have magnae and parvae. Why do we have the different forms, magna parva and magnae parvae? And the reason is that we have adjectives, parvae and magnae, matching the appropriate nouns. So they're matching the case number and gender. So parvae with insulae, magnae with insulae, and in the sentence above, parva with insula, and magna with insula. The next grammar point I want to show you is in line 33 and 34. Here we have the words oppidum and oppida. Just like we had insula and insulae and fluvius and fluvii, here we have a singular noun, oppidum, and the plural form oppida. This This noun is neuter, the third of the three genders. So and a, oppidum being singular town, oppida being plural towns. And that's the last gender that you have to learn. After this grammar point in 33, I want to go to line 41. And point out the difference between Roma and Romana. Romanus aum comes from the noun Roma. Romanus aum, notice in the margin, it's labeled as usaum. When you see a word listed like this, it means it's an adjective. Remember what I said about adjectives, they can change their form to match their noun. That's why you get the multiple forms. So you get a masculine, Romanus, a feminine, Romana, and a neuter, Romanum form. Those will correspond to their appropriate, the appropriate gender of the noun that they go with. Romanus does not mean Rome, it means Roman. That's the difference in English between the noun and the adjective. The city of Rome is a Roman city, Roman being the modifier. Now I want to point out a feature in line 49. In line 49, we see the word num. Num creta oppidum est. When you see the word num, it's like ne. It tells you that it is a Roman question. The Romans did not have question marks. They only had these marker words. Num is expecting a no response. Num is like asking, surely this isn't the case, is it? Or it's not the case, is it? It's a rhetorical type question. So num creta oppidum est. So Crete surely isn't a town, and we all know that it's not. It's an island. So translate num. The best way and most foolproof way to do this is to say surely not. In line 50, right after num, we have another question word, another interrogative, or we have an interrogative word, interrogative pronoun here. Quid est Creta? What is Crete? When you have an interrogative word starting a sentence, notice that you don't need ne or num. You don't need a question word because that is your question word. So you don't say quid est ne Creta because quid is already telling you have a question. And the last grammar point I have to make in this chapter is in line 60. So notice here that you have imperio and imperium above each other, right next to each other, juxtaposed. So in Imperio Romano and Imperium Romanum, the difference here is the same as you saw in at the very beginning of the chapter, where you saw in Italia and then just Italia, except that here instead of a long A you have a long O. It's triggered in the same way by the preposition in. So in Imperio means in the Roman Empire. And here we just have the Roman Empire, the nominative form. So again, imperio, long O, this is called the ablative. But all you need to know for right now is that it is triggered by the preposition in. And when you don't have in, we have the nominative form, imperium Romanum. So that's all the grammar I have for you now. What I'd like you to do is to go try the Pensvm Day. See if you can answer the questions, which I've just gone over orally and through this video. And when you're done with this chapter, you're ready to move on to Chapter 2 and go start the process over. This has been a production of Lingua Latina Tutorials with Mr. K. To purchase any of the books in the Lingua Latina series featured on this video, including the Latine Disco, just visit the Focus Publishing website at www.focusbookstore.com. For free resources to help you in your study of Latin, visit my website at www.christianlanguage.com. Thanks for watching.